She stands frozen at the bank counter, the printed statement trembling in both hands, eyes scanning the same line over and over, as if the numbers might rearrange themselves into something that makes sense. "Mrs. Renee Okafor, are you all right? Can I get you some water?" Renee looks up slowly, her face drained of color, lips parting, but no words coming out for a long, terrible second. "These withdrawals." Her voice drops to barely a whisper, finger pressing hard against the paper. "I didn't make these." The young bank officer, a woman named Priya, leans forward across the counter, brow creased with careful concern. "Ma'am, the transactions were authorized with your signature. We have the forms on file." Renee's jaw tightens. Her hand grips the counter's edge. She breathes in once, slowly through her nose. "Then someone has been signing my name." She sets the paper down flat, smooths it with her palm, and looks Priya dead in the eyes. "Because I have not set foot in this branch in over 2 years." The silence that follows is the kind that changes everything. And what Renee is about to discover will not just shake her faith in her son, it will dismantle the entire story she has been telling herself about her family for 6 years. But we'll get to that. First, you need to understand who Renee Okafor is and exactly how much she had to lose. Renee is 54 years old, sharp-minded and self-made in every sense of the word. She lives in a clean, well-appointed apartment on the 14th floor of a residential building in the heart of Atlanta. The kind of place with a doorman, a gym on the 2nd floor, and a view of the city skyline that she earned after 30 years of working in healthcare administration. She is not wealthy by the standards of the city's elite, but she is comfortable, or she was. She raised one child alone after her husband walked out when that child was 9 years old. She worked double shifts, she missed birthdays, she sacrificed quietly and without complaint, because that is what she understood love to look like. Her child is her son, Dominique. He is 31 years old, broad-shouldered, charming in the easy way that gets people to lower their guard. He has been living in Renee's 2nd bedroom for 4 years, following what he described as a temporary setback, a failed business venture that left him, by his own account, completely broke. Renee had welcomed him back without hesitation. She covered his phone bill, his car insurance, his groceries. She asked only that he look for work and contribute when he could. He never did. And Renee, who loved her son the way only a mother who raised a child alone can love, kept making excuses for him to anyone who asked. Her sister, Adiaze, had warned her twice, maybe 3 times. "Renee, you are not helping him. You are hiding him from consequences." Renee had not wanted to hear it. She still doesn't, not yet. But the paper in her hand is making it very hard to look away. It starts, as these things often do, with something small and almost accidental. 3 weeks before the scene at the bank counter, Renee is sitting at her kitchen table going through a folder of old documents, insurance policies, pension statements, a lease agreement from 2019. She is looking for nothing in particular, just conducting the kind of quiet domestic audit that responsible people do from time to time. She pulls out a bank statement she does not remember printing. The date at the top reads 14 months ago. She almost sets it aside. Then a number catches her eye. A withdrawal of $600, then another the following week, then $900. The account it is drawn from is not her primary checking account. It is an older savings account she opened in 2018 and rarely touches, an account she is almost certain she has not accessed in over a year. She sits with it for a moment, frowning. She tells herself it is probably nothing. She tells herself she simply forgot. But the thing about Renee Okafor is that she does not forget money. She never has. It is the one area of her life where her memory is almost architectural in its precision. She knows what she spends, when she spends it, and why. It is how she survived the lean years. It is how she built everything she has. So she logs into the bank's online portal that same evening, and what she finds stops her breath entirely. 43 transactions over 16 months, withdrawals ranging from $200 to $1,400, in-branch transactions, every single one, signed, authorized, stamped. Her name on every form. Her handwriting, or something terrifyingly close to it. She does not confront Dominique that night. She doesn't say a word. She closes the laptop, walks to her bedroom window, and stares at the city below for a very long time. There is something precise and methodical happening inside her chest. Not panic, not grief, but something quieter and more dangerous. She is beginning to understand. The following morning, she drives to the bank in person. She asks to see the original authorization forms. Priya retrieves them from the records office and places them on the counter. And Renee looks at the signatures, 12 of them, clean and confident and completely wrong in ways only she would ever notice. The loop of the R, the way the K in Okafor tilts 2 degrees too far to the right. It was not her signature. It was never her signature. She folds the statements with great care, tucks them into her handbag, and straightens up to her full height. I need to speak to your fraud department. Her voice is perfectly level, perfectly calm. And I need you to tell me every branch these transactions occurred at. 6 years of trust, 43 withdrawals, and a son sleeping peacefully 2 rooms away from where she now stands, his breakfast still warm on the kitchen counter. But she didn't know yet just how deep it went. Renee does not go home straight away after leaving the bank. She drives 3 blocks, pulls into a parking garage, cuts the engine, and sits in the dark interior of her car for 22 minutes. She knows this because she watches the clock on the dashboard the entire time. It is the only thing she trusts right now, the mechanical certainty of minutes ticking forward. The fraud officer she spoke with, a calm, methodical man named Gerald, had been careful with his words, professional. But his eyes had said something different when he laid out the full transaction history across the desk between them. 43 withdrawals across 4 different branches, a total of $31,600 removed from her savings account over 6 years. Not 16 months, 6 years. The earlier statements, the ones she never thought to check, had been the beginning. Dominic had started small, $200 here, $150 there, patient, calculated. The amount had grown larger only in the last 2 years, once he'd apparently confirmed that she wasn't watching. She grips the steering wheel with both hands, knuckles whitening, jaw working slowly, like she's chewing on the truth and finding it impossible to swallow. She thinks about every conversation she had with her son over the past 6 years. Every time she said she was a little tight that month. Every time she skipped a trip she'd been planning because she couldn't quite stretch the budget. Every time Dominic sat across from her at the dinner table, relaxed, joking, asking if there was more rice. Her phone buzzes. It is a text from him. "Hey Mom, you coming back soon? I finished the last of the coffee. Want me to grab some from the store?" She stares at the message. Her thumb hovers over the screen. She puts the phone face down on the passenger seat without responding. She needs to be certain before she walks back through that door. She needs every piece in place. The first call she makes is to Adiaze. Her sister answers on the second ring, and Renee tells her everything in a single unbroken stream. The statements, Gerald, the signatures, the 6 years, the $31,000. When she finishes, the line is quiet for a long moment. Adiaze, listen to me carefully. Do not go back to that apartment alone tonight. I'm not running from my own home, Ada. Her voice is low and controlled, but her free hand is pressed flat against the car door, like she needs to feel something solid. I am going back. I just need to know what I'm walking into first. She asks Adiaze to do one thing, to call her cousin Marcus, who works in corporate legal services, and ask him quietly,
carefully what Renee's options are. Adaeze agrees immediately. Before they hang up, she says one more thing. Check everything, Renee, not just the savings account. Everything. It is the best and worst advice anyone gives her. That evening, after Dominic leaves the apartment for what he says is a gym session, Renee opens her filing cabinet. She pulls out every financial document she owns: bank statements, credit card records, a life insurance policy, the deed paperwork for a small property she co-owned with a friend in Decatur. She spreads them across the dining table under the bright overhead light and begins to read. The second peek hits her like a wall. Her credit card, a card she believed she cancelled in 2021, is active. Not just active, it carries a balance of $8,900. Purchases at electronic stores, a furniture outlet, a subscription service she has never heard of. The billing address is a P.O. box she does not recognize. The minimum payments have been coming out of her checking account, buried inside a cluster of automated transactions she never scrutinized because she trusted her own financial house was in order. She sits down heavily in the dining chair, both hands flat on the table, staring at the number as if staring hard enough will make it smaller. No. The word comes out of her quietly, not an exclamation, a verdict. She photographs everything with her phone, sends the images to Adaeze, then she calls Marcus herself. Marcus is measured, precise, and deeply serious by the time she finishes explaining. Renee, what we are describing is identity fraud and financial elder abuse. Both are criminal offenses. You need to go to the police and you need to do it before you confront him. If he knows you know, he can destroy evidence. He is my son, Marcus. A long pause, the kind that carries weight. He is also the person who stole $31,000 from you and opened credit lines in your name. Those two things are both true at the same time. She knows he's right. She hates that he's right. The third peak arrives at 11:17 that night, and it is the one that nearly breaks her. Dominic comes home from the gym smelling of cologne, not sweat, carrying a takeout bag and wearing a new jacket she has never seen before. He sets the food on the counter and calls out to her cheerfully as if the world is exactly what it appears to be. She stands in the hallway outside her bedroom door, arms crossed, watching him move around her kitchen with complete ease of a man who feels entirely safe. Got us jack chicken, that place on Peachtree you like. She does not move, does not smile, just watches. Where did you get that jacket, Dominic? He glances down at it casually, shrugging one shoulder. Oh, this? Found it on sale. Nothing crazy. She holds his gaze for exactly 3 seconds. He looks away first. Good night, she says, and closes her bedroom door. She does not sleep. She lies on top of the covers fully dressed, fawn on her chest, replaying every moment from the last 6 years through an entirely different lens. Every holiday, every birthday card he signed, every hug at the door when she came home from a long shift. And then, just before 2 a.m, her phone lights up with a notification from her banking app. A new transaction, attempted at an ATM 4 blocks away, her savings account, declined because Gerald had placed a freeze on it that afternoon. Dominic had tried again, tonight, while she lay in the next room. She closes her eyes, opens them, sits up slowly. She picks up her phone and dials Marcus. I'm ready, she says. Tell me what to do first. She is standing in the center of the living room when Dominic emerges from his bedroom the next morning, still half asleep, hair uncombed, wearing the new jacket over a t-shirt as if it is a second skin he has already claimed. He stops when he sees her face. She stands perfectly still, arms at her sides, the printed bank statements and credit card records laid out across the coffee table like evidence at a trial, because that is exactly what they are. Mom, what's going on? Her eyes do not waver. Her voice, when it comes, is quieter than he expects, and that quietness is more frightening than any shout. Sit down, Dominic. He looks at the table, looks back at her, Something shifts behind his eyes, a flicker of calculation disguised as confusion. What is all this? Sit down. He sits. She remains standing. I want you to look at what is on that table, and I want you to tell me right now, to my face, that you had nothing to do with any of it. He leans forward slowly, scanning the documents. His jaw tightens almost imperceptibly. His right hand moves to his knee and grips it. A long silence fills the apartment. Outside, Atlanta is waking up. Traffic building on the street below, the distant sound of a delivery truck reversing. Inside, the only sound is the quiet war happening between a mother and the son she built her entire life around. He looks up at her finally, and what crosses his face is not remorse. It is the careful, practiced expression of a man assembling a story. Mom, listen, it was a loan. I was always going to pay it back. I just needed time to get back on my feet, and I didn't know how to ask you because I knew you'd say no. Her aunt raises one hand. He stops. $31,000, Dominic, from my savings. $8,900 on a credit card you reactivated in my name. 43 transactions over 6 years. She pauses. Her voice drops further, each word landing like a stone in still water. You forged my signature in a bank repeatedly. That is not a loan. That is fraud. His posture shifts. The story he was building collapses before it's finished. I was going to tell you. When? Her eyes finally fill, but she does not let a single tear fall. Not yet. When were you going to tell me, Dominic? When I retired and found nothing left? When I got sick and couldn't afford care? When exactly was I going to matter enough for you to stop? He opens his mouth, closes it, looks at the floor. The silence that follows is the answer, and they both know it. She had called the police the night before. Marcus had walked her through every step, the fraud report, the documentation, the timeline. 2 officers arrive at 9:15, and Renee opens the door for them herself, calm and upright, and steps aside to let them in. She has already packed a bag for Dominic. It sits beside the door, neat and zipped, a detail so precise and deliberate that one of the officers glances at it and then looks at Renee with something close to respect. Dominic stands up from the couch when the officers enter, his face cycling through shock, anger, and something that might be shame if given enough room to breathe. Mom, you don't have to do this. We can figure this out. We are family. She turns to look at him one final time before the officers move toward him, and her expression is not cold. It is something harder and more permanent than cold. It is decided. We are family, she says quietly, and you used that against me for 6 years. She turns away before he can respond. She does not watch them lead him out. She stands at the window, arms wrapped around herself, and looks at the city. She hears the door close. She breathes. The weeks that follow are not easy, and Renee does not pretend they are. She cries, properly, fully, the kind of crying she had been holding back since the parking garage. She cries in Adiaze's kitchen over a cup of tea, and Adiaze sits beside her without speaking because there is nothing adequate to say. She cries once in the shower, and once in her car outside the grocery store, and once very quietly on a Sunday morning when she walked past Dominic's old bedroom and finds a hoodie he left on the chair. She leaves it there for 3 days. Then she folds it, places it in a box, and sets the box by the door for donation. The fraud case moves forward with Marcus guiding her through each stage. The bank, after reviewing Gerald's documentation and the original forged authorization forms, begins the process of restitution. It will not be fast, it will not return everything, but it is movement, and movement, Renee discovers, is what keeps grief from becoming paralysis. She sits across from Marcus at his office desk 6 weeks after the arrest, reading through a legal summary he has prepared, her reading glasses perched on her nose, a pen in her hand. They're offering a plea, Marcus says. 18 months, restitution plan, supervised release. She's quiet for a moment, pen tapping once against the paper. Does he have a lawyer? Court appointed, yes. She nods slowly. Then let the process work. she removes her glasses and looks at her cousin directly. I'm not going to protect him from consequences anymore. That's what got us here. Marcus holds her gaze and nods. It is the most important sentence she has spoken in years. By the time spring arrives, Renee has done something she has not done in a long time. She books a trip. 7 days in Lisbon, a city she cut from her plans 3 years ago when money felt inexplicably tighter than it should have. She books a window seat. She downloads a language app. She buys new luggage, sensible and beautiful in a deep shade of green. Adieze comes over the night before her flight and they sit on the balcony with glasses of wine, the Atlanta skyline stretched out before them, warm and glittering. Adieze tilts her glass toward her sister with a soft smile. You look different. Renee considers this for a moment, looking out at the city. I feel different. A pause. A small, real smile crosses her face for the first time in months. I feel like myself. The apartment is quieter now. There's no second plate at dinner, no borrowed car, no unanswered texts about coffee or groceries. The quiet was strange at first, almost accusatory, but Renee has begun to understand that what she mistook for loneliness is actually space. Space she had been filling with someone else's needs for so long that she had forgotten her own shape. She is 54 years old, she has a pension, a view, a sister who loves her, and a window seat to Lisbon. She has a savings account that is hers again, smaller than it was, but growing and belonging entirely and only to her. She does not know yet whether she will ever fully forgive her son. She suspects that forgiveness, if it comes, will arrive slowly and on her own terms, not because anyone told her she owed it, but because she will one day choose it freely. That is the difference, the one she is only now learning to insist upon. Choice. Hers. Always hers. She raises her glass toward the skyline, quietly, to no one in particular, or perhaps to the version of herself who sat in a parking garage 22 weeks ago and decided, in the dark and the silence, to finally look. The city shimmers back at her. She is ready. What part of this story shocked you the most? Let me know in the comments. A final word. Renee's story is not just about betrayal. It is about the dangerous weight of love that asks nothing in return. When we love without boundaries, we sometimes hand the people we cherish the very tools they use to diminish us. But here is what Renee teaches us. It is never too late to look clearly at your own life. It is never weakness to protect what you have built. Choosing yourself is not abandonment, it is survival. And sometimes, the most powerful thing a person can do is fold the hoodie, close the door, and book the flight. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. And please tell us in the comments where you are watching from.